Hello, good to see you again. Welcome to Block 5, Fraction, Decimal, and Percentage Equivalence, Lesson 14. I'll share my screen. So, in your previous lesson, you learned how to use your understanding that fraction is division of quantities to apply that knowledge to use a calculator to work out the equivalence between fractions and to find out which fractions were actually bigger, or to arrange fractions in ascending or descending order. In today's lesson, you're going to focus on, or you're going to learn how to convert fluently between fractions, decimals, and percentages. But before we start, I would like to appeal to you: support our mission to educate children who may not have the financial resources to afford a private maths teacher. So share the video, like, and subscribe to the channel. Before we get on to the main lesson, I would like you to answer these retrieval practice questions in 3 minutes. You could actually take 2 minutes. 2 minutes should be fine, but you can work at your own pace. So you can pause the video and answer the retrieval practice questions. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. First, you were asked to define percent. Percent means out of 100. Next, you were asked, write the fraction, decimal, and percentage shaded in each 100 square. And then next, write any fractions in their simplest form. Here we can see that we have 7 rows shaded and 5 extra boxes shaded. So that is 75 hundredths, and that is 75%. We can divide 75 by 25. So the highest common factor that we can use to divide the numerator, which is 75, and the denominator, which is 100, is 25. So 75 divided by 25 is 3. 100 divided by 25 is 4. So as a fraction in its simplest form, that is 3/4. And if you recall, in our previous lessons, we learned that a quarter is 0.25. So 3 lots of 0.25 is 0.75 or 0.75. This one is 6/10. Now you can see that we have 6 columns shaded, which is 60 boxes. So that is 60 hundredths. If we simplify that, we should be able to divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2. So the common factor is 2. That will give us 3/5. And of course, that is 0.6, and that is 60%. All right, let's do some new learning today. If I ask you to write 18/25 as as a percentage, of course you will say, well, I need to write that as something out of 100. Now, we know the denominator is going to be 100. So we have to think about the relationship between 25 and 100. Of course, that number is 4. Now, you may be wondering, how did I know that? Anytime you have a problem like this, which we will see some more in this lesson, you could have worked that out by doing 100 divided by 25 to find that the factor is actually 4. So now that you know that, you can multiply the numerator by 4 to give you 72 out of 100. And that is 72 divided by 100. Remember, our previous lesson, we learned that division, a fraction is division, and division is fraction. So we could write 72 out of 100 as 72 divided by 100, which is 0.72. Okay. We could also have used our calculator to do it. So 18 divided by 25 will give us 0.72. Now, here is a question. If we have these three, is it more efficient to use a calculator or find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100 to convert these fractions to decimals? What do you think? Well, we could do that. That is easy to do because we know 20 times 5 will give us 100, so that's easy to do. Well, this one I would definitely use a calculator because 13 is not a factor of 100. Okay, 13 is not a factor of 100, so that would be a bit challenging for us to do. But for this one, we could do either. So watch how we approach this. So for 7, 8, we'll say, well, it's not going to be a whole number because we cannot think of a whole number that we can multiply 8 by to make the denominator 100. But remember what I said. You could work that out by doing 100 divided by 8. You will find out that the number is actually 12.5. So if you had done 100 divided by 8, you will find out that the common factor is 12.5. So 8 times 12.5 will give us 100, which means we need to multiply the numerator by 12.5 to give us 87.5. So actually what we're seeing right here is 87.5%. And of course, we could work that out in a calculator to give us 0.875, which is 87.5%. And that could have been done with a calculator a long time ago. Okay. Right. So what we've learned so far is that you can convert from fraction to decimal and to percentage by knowing that you can make the denominator 100, thinking about factors that you multiply to make the denominator 100, and then multiply the numerator with that same factor. I would like you to pause the video and answer question 1 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here you were asked to draw a line between matching fractions and decimals, and you were asked that you could use a calculator. So this is a fairly straightforward one. You use your calculator to find which fractions match with the decimals. Pause the video and answer question 2 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 2, here are the answers. Here you were asked 1/4 is equal to 25%. So 1/8 must be 12.5% or 0.125. Yes, that's right. So use Alex's facts to write the percentage and decimal equivalents. Okay. So here, if 1/8 is 12.5%, so that will be 3 lots of that. Okay. So you're just using the facts that Alex has stated to answer these questions. This will be 5 lots of that, and there should be 7 lots of that. Okay, this is really important that you remember this. A quarter is not 0.25. 1/8 is half of a quarter, which is not 0.125. Really important. When we convert that into a percentage, we'll say, well, a quarter is 25%. 1/8 is 12.5%. So it's good you memorize some of these facts because it will come in very useful for you in your future study of maths. Pause the video and answer question 3 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here you were asked to use a calculator to complete this table using your knowledge of division and multiplication, and you're given some facts here that you could have used. So celebrate your success, mark your work, do your correction if you've missed anything here. Pause the video and answer question 4 in 3 minutes. You could actually do it in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 4, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here you were asked, you can convert a fraction to a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. That's fairly straightforward. For example, 11/20 is 11 divided by 20. Do you remember something? Of course, this takes us back to what we did in our previous lesson. So if you have not watched that video, please go and watch the video and do some practice if you do not understand what we're doing here. So then you asked to use that knowledge to convert these fractions to decimals. So you simply use your calculator to work these out. All right, well done for answering the first part of questions for this lesson. Let's do some further learning. What if we have 7/13? What do we do with this to convert it into a decimal? Well, again, we'll apply our knowledge from our previous lesson. Fractions are divisions, and divisions can be expressed as fractions. So this is 7 divided by 13, which is this number. But you may be wondering, what are these on top of these numbers? Well, something you must know is a concept we call recurring decimal. Recurring decimal. So recurring, it means the digits, recurring decimals. You're going to come across this again and again and again, so you can make note of that if you want to. Again and again in year 8, in year 9, year 10, even in year 11. So recurring decimal, it simply means that the digits in between these two numbers will occur again. So after this, the next number we're going to have is going to be 5, 3, 8, 6, 4, 1, and it repeats. So recurring decimals means we have a repeating pattern of numbers, and you can see it there. You see that there, and you see it again here. Okay. So this is an example of recurring decimal. What if you're asked, so here's another example, if you're asked to write 0.1875 as a percentage and as a fraction in its simplest form? Well, remember that to convert from our previous lessons, so if you've not watched our lessons on working with simple percentage, fractions, and decimals, please go and watch that video. You can multiply the decimal by 100. Now, if we do that, that gives us 18.75. So we have actually made this number, rewritten it as a percentage by multiplying it by 100. So this is 18.75%. Now, if we want to express it in the simplest form, we have a challenge though. To be able to express it in the simplest form, we have to make the numerator a whole number. Now, thinking about numbers, we start really small and we start to see, okay, if I multiply 18.75 by 2, will it make it a whole number? What about 3? What about 4? That's the way to think about it first at this stage of your learning, but there are quicker and more efficient ways of doing it. But let's start really simple and easy. So the number is actually 4. So if we multiply that by 4, that will give us 75. And if we multiply that by 4, the denominator by 4, that will give us 400. Now we can simplify this fraction. If we think about it, we've seen this number before. We know 25 is a really good factor that we can use for that. So 75 divided by 25 will give us 3. And 400 divided by 25 will give us 16. So we have written this number in 3 forms, which is the purpose of our lesson. We have written it, it's a decimal, we've written it as a fraction, and we've written it as a percentage, and we've also expressed it in its simplest form. All right, well done for sticking around to the last segment of your practice questions. It's time for you to practice your questions. So pause the video and answer question 5 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 5, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here you were asked to convert these percentages to fractions, simplifying your answers if possible. And here are the answers. So this could have been written as 42 over 100. And then if we divide, so 42 over 1 divided by 100. And then if we divide by 2, that will be 21. So 42 divided by 2 will be 21. 100 divided by 2 will be 50. This one we won't be able to simplify. That one we can simplify. And so on and so forth. Pause the video and answer question 6 in 3 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered the questions, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Question 6, you were asked, this is to help you get used to using a calculator. So you were asked to use a calculator to convert these fractions to decimals, copy the full display from your calculator on paper. And here are the answers. And next you were asked, some of the decimals in part A are known as recurring decimals. Which ones do you think are called these and why? Yeah. So they go on forever. Yeah. They repeat. And you can see some of them are recurring decimals. Pause the video and answer question 7 in 2 minutes. Assuming you've paused the video and you've answered question 7, here are the answers. Let's discuss them. Here, you were asked to write the next 3 terms in each sequence. So give your answer in as fractions, decimals, and percentages. So again, this, something you could do with your calculator. So that one is given to you as an example. This one are the fractions, decimals, and percentages. And then here, for question B, so here you can see that's 0.1, that's 0.2. So it's increasing by 0.1, or we can say 10% every time. So next one will be 4/10, 40%, 50%, 60%. Okay, I hope you remember this. Okay, and then as percentages, this one we can see that's 1/5, which is 0.2, that's 0.25. So it's increasing by 0.05, or it's increasing by 5%. So this one should be 35%, 40%, 45%, so on and so forth. Sorry. So that brings us to the end of our lesson. So what have we learned so far? We have learned in this lesson that you can use knowledge, the knowledge that fraction is division, to work out the decimal equivalent of a fraction And you can use, once you have the decimal, you can multiply that decimal by 100 to convert that decimal into a percentage. And remember, when you write a percentage, you must put the percentage sign in front of the number, or the percentage symbol in front of the number. And you also use the knowledge that if you want to express a fraction as a percentage, if the denominator is a number that you can easily multiply and make it 100, you can use that knowledge to convert that fraction into a percentage. Say, for example, if you have 7 over 20, you say, oh, well, 20 is actually a factor of 100, and you can multiply 20 to get by 5 to get 100. So you can multiply the numerator, which is 7, by 5 as well to get 35. So 7/20 will be 35%. Okay. All right. Very good. Well done for sticking around, for working hard in this lesson, and well done for continuing to learn. Until next time, take care of yourself, and bye-bye.